What's up, gamers? My name's Sayushi, and today we're going to be taking a look at the recently released Rune 2. I'm very excited to be able to present this video to you guys because I am a huge fan of the original Rune game. I ended up doing a video of it on my channel many years ago. Actually, I was gonna say not too long ago, and just absolutely love the original game. It's very similar to Quake or Unreal, where it's very fast, and it kind of ends up having a lot of Viking stuff going on with it. Even looking back at the old original Rune game, I always thought, even as a kid, this is a man's game. And what I mean by that is quite literally everything is really over the top. You know, your guy will end up drinking mead to end up healing, and he'll smash the glass on the ground. There will be a lizard on a wall, and he just picks it off the wall, eats it, and throws the bones away. When you're fighting enemies, you can end up chopping off their limbs, having them continuously fight you while you end up picking up their arm and beating them up with their own limb or their head or whatever. There was just so many really cool things that I remember from the original game that was really unprecedented at the time. Even the fact that you could actually throw weapons into wood and it would end up staying in the wood rather than actually just bouncing off of it or anything like that. Now, that said, I have a very big open criticism that I gotta let you guys know about right off the bat. I personally think that it was a mistake for them to be calling this game Rune 2 because it's not really like the original Rune. It doesn't have a lot of the original feel to it. I think that this game could have easily just been called Rune with some other type of subtext, and then maybe I personally would be a little bit more open to it, just because the game itself is very different from the original and in a lot of ways doesn't really have the same appeal to it. So there is going to be an online or local play. You know, the game is primarily focused on online, but we'll just end up starting a new character here, Bobman. Just show you that there is a little bit of customization, not too much. You can end up picking some tattoos, picking some basic hairstyles, picking the colors of it, and kind of making your guy like a real cool epic Viking dude, right? But we'll just end up bumping right into it. Another thing too that I gotta point out is that unfortunately this game seems to be pretty unoptimized, which kind of sucks because I literally have a god computer. I'm rocking a 2080 Ti. My CPU is like an i9 9960. Like, I straight up have a very overpowered computer, and I'm dealing with a lot of frame rate issues in this game. I don't know why. Hopefully we'll end up having a decent amount of frame rate in this video, but you can see it's clearly not a smooth 60 frames, right? So the thing that was so cool about the original one was also just the lore, because it was all of this like Nordic stuff where we have like the gods fighting against one another, being like immortal mortals. And what I mean by that is it's like they're immortal and they're gods, but they bicker and they fight and they're annoying and they're evil, and some of them are good, some of them aren't, you know. And it's just, I highly recommend the original game. It was such a fun time, you know. And with this one, they end up doing a couple things that I personally, again, don't feel are appropriate for a full-on sequel, for them to actually refer to this as Rune 2, because you can see we're already thrown into kind of open world. There are going to be multiple islands that you can end up going to and exploring. Certain islands might just be too powerful for you, and I would say that the gameplay actually is kind of like a more action-driven style of Rust. So we're actually going to be chopping down trees and stuff in the environment, just so that we can end up getting wood and resources for crafting. And that's the thing, is the original game didn't deal with any of that stuff. It didn't have any crafting, and in my eyes, it's actually a little bit weird that they ended up going the route of, you know, trying to modernize it, and it feels a little bit dated to me. Just, again, I want to be very open. My criticisms towards this game are coming from Rune 1. As far as it just being a game on its own, it's actually not too bad. You know, like I said, it plays very similar to a game like Rust, but I like the fact that it's got a strong focus on PvE. As you're leveling up, you're going to end up unlocking more weapons and stuff that you can end up crafting. You can play with other players very easily, and the fact of the matter is that the combat is still fairly satisfying. You know, we've got like the old jump and spin move from the original game. There is going to end up being PvP servers as well. We're going to end up grabbing all this wood so that we can end up repairing this hut here, right? As we end up interacting with these, they're giving us lore, but also giving us a bunch of XP at the same time. You can see on the ground, these are all of the lizards that we're slowly, you know, from the original game, the lizards that we're slowly picking up, because now we can actually just outright cook them, if I can end up finding them, blah, blah, blah. Player stats, crafting, recipes are up here, so on and so forth. So let's try and just craft a whole bunch of these guys, craft some cooked meat. We can end up getting ourselves a hunting spear, so that'll probably end up being a bit of a better weapon right now. I'll put my axe on the second hotbar, same with all my health items. Well, maybe I'll have a couple of them just sitting there. So he still, you know, eats the food and then throws it away, which is awesome. You can just seemingly interact with this thing and repair your gear. I don't know whether or not it actually costs a resource or anything like that. There's also going to end up being a couple different types of builds that you can go for. You know, there are going to be two-handed weapons. There are going to be shields. You gotta end up like leveling up quite a bit in order to end up getting all this stuff. You can store a bunch of your items as well. Runes are going to end up being kind of special power-up items. Where you'll end up having like a forced push or something that'll set your weapon on fire and stuff like that. We'll play through this first starting island just because I do want to show you guys, like, I do like this game. I do think that it's actually really cool. I just think that it's really weird to call this Rune 2, you know? So there we go. We ended up getting a whole bunch of resources just out of that. There's also some pretty cheaty tactics that you can end up doing in the combat that I will kind of show you guys in a moment here. So we have to gather... Oh, we're still actually trying to gather some ore, in fact. So give me just a minute to end up doing that. I still would recommend, if you can end up getting your hands on the original game, it's awesome. There is a Steam version of the game, but it actually ends up updating some stuff of the original Rune, but also downgrading some stuff. Not to mention the mods are where it's at. There's actually a co-op mod that I had so much fun with. Even, you know, even within the past couple years, I just had a blast playing it with my brother. Because that game still holds up today, even though it's old school, you know? It's like playing through Half-Life 1. Like, it seems like it's all old and jank, but it just plays so tight that it still holds up. And with the mods, it actually like scales up the difficulty. You can end up playing the entire campaign co-op, and it's just so cool because of that, you know. And right now we're trying to kind of break all of these rocks so that we can end up releasing a creature of sorts, our first official boss fight. There's lots of different creatures that you can end up fighting, so these guys are just going to end up being thralls. But there are going to end up being like other creatures that you'll end up fighting. So you can see right here, human leg. There's that nice reference to the original game. So I'm actually going to, oh god. Okay. Let me pull out their leg. That frame rate. And I'm gonna beat him with his own leg. Haha, that was surprisingly powerful. You wouldn't think that a leg would be this strong. But it's actually kind of stronger than my own sword. Pretty ridiculous if you ask me, but oh man, I do love the old school references. And again, guys, I want to be very clear. Even though, like I said, comparatively to the original Rune, it's a bit weird. The game itself, actually, it's not like this game's bad. I kind of like it, you know? Like, at first I was like, oh, this isn't like the original Rune. This is Uggles. And then I started thinking, well, what if this wasn't like Rune 2 and instead was just like Rune Valhalla Warriors or something, you know? It was just something that took the original's world but was titled something different and its own original game. And then I started thinking, yeah, I could see that. So now we're dealing with this boss guy, and like I said, you can kind of cheese him because you actually, if you just circle strafe him, we're not going to end up taking that much damage. You know, even when he ends up getting all up in my face. I'm kind of doing this very poorly just because I'm waiting for my stamina to come back. But if we just keep strafing around him, I found that you can actually beat this guy without him hurting you at all. So I'm wondering whether or not something like this might work for stronger enemies, because your attacks are literally interrupting him. So now the game is slowly introducing us into the other islands. And this whole area that we're in, as far as I know, is a tutorial zone. I'm pretty sure when you're playing online, there are different servers. So you can end up playing against other players, or you can end up playing with them. Like the PvP could be on or off. I'm not exactly sure on that. But I hope we actually have all the right resources for this. Yeah, here we go. So here's our raft. So as we end up crafting this bad boy, and this is how the construction is going to end up working as well when you're building like your own houses and junk like that. So you can throw it down, and now we're actually just as easily on a raft sailing from one island to another. You know, the reason why I hold the original Rune game so close to my heart is because a lot of that stuff was very, very forward for the time. You know, there wasn't really that much you could interact with in most video games. And Rune had interaction in droves. Like there would be traps that you could interact with in the environment, where you might pull a trap and it could either attack you or it could be used to attack the enemies. There was also Draugr, these undead creatures, and the only way that you could actually kill them was by chopping off their heads. So you had to use specific weapon types that were very good at slashing damage, rather than something like an axe that was going to end up being used for cleaving damage. But the game didn't end up explaining any of this, and it was really cool to kind of experiment and figure this stuff out for yourself back in the day. You know, eventually you ended up getting to these crazy dwarven levels that were really over the top and really, really difficult enemies. The game itself was actually insanely hard, from what I recall, and you could actually pump up the difficulty as well. So anyways, this is going to end up being our fast travel point. So now we should be able to just fast travel to the other island at any point in time. Let's also see if we have enough wood on our person. Yes, we do, thank goodness. So we've created this shack, going to end up acting the exact same as the other one. We could end up, you know, getting our items or anything like that we had in our previous chest. In the safe building, your health will slowly replenish. You can also build useful tools and stuff. I think in PvP servers, you can end up just chilling in one of these places to keep yourself safe. Build foundation. What am I building? Oh my. Is this just another hut? Woo! Yeah, it is. I don't know why that's actually there, but whatever. I guess because we're kind of rebuilding a village here type of thing, right? But there is a lot of other things that you can interact with in the environment. There's all sorts of different areas as well, like that over there. I think, you know what, let's actually head over there to that point of interest, and then maybe we'll end up calling the video for today, because I think that looks absolutely dope, and I'll probably end up dying. I think there's going to end up being like water creatures, or maybe they talked about adding them. I don't know how far along this build is of the game, you know. Reveal. What did I just do? There's another fast travel point. Artifact has been obtained. Look at the artifact screen and the map screen for information of the location. Oh, I see. So that actually just revealed an artifact item. Ooh, that's cool. So it's actually over here somewhere, just in the vicinity on this island. All right. Oh man, the original game though, it just takes me back to like another time, you know? Like this game is awesome, don't get me wrong, but it's like, it doesn't really have the same feel as the original. Now, if you guys are interested in picking up the game, there will be a link to that. And then anything you know, anytime you end up buying the game, I'll end up making a small percentage of it, which again, if you're into these types of open world, crafty, like Rust type of things, but maybe you didn't like the whole PvP thing, that's something that I didn't really find the most appealing, is that the entirety of a game like Rust is based off of other players and your experience with them. Whereas this is like a fully fleshed out open world game that you can experience on your own, that also happens to end up being online, where you can end up teaming up with other people and stuff like that. And I think that it could end up being really cool. If I had the extra time, I'd love to play this game. Hopefully it'll end up getting a little bit more optimized at some point, because I don't even think... Okay, I am rocking maxed out settings. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I'm rocking max settings or anything. Let's find out if we can actually swim. Yes, we can. Okay, so it was in an earlier build where you couldn't swim. I don't know why, whoa. Okay. Whoa, geez. A little bit glitchy there. I don't know why you couldn't just swim to all the other islands or something. Weird. And then at any point, we can end up just, you know, using the fast traveling there, which it did say a warning. What was that saying? Did it take away my items or something? No, it didn't. What was the point? Warning, you will drop any carried artifacts. Oh, I see. So you gotta get an artifact and bring it to like a safe haven or something. You could possibly end up getting attacked maybe by other players. Maybe that's the incentive of it. Like maybe that's the point. I'm not sure. Here's a nice little sneak peek of some giants that you'll fight later on. Have yourselves a great day though, folks. Smash like, sub for more. Have yourselves a great day, Sanoa. And stay epic, gamers.